Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter, and in this video I'm going to take a look at Canon's brand new entry-level DSLR, the Canon T6. Now guys, if you didn't know it already, I'm actually giving away either a Canon 80D or a Sony a6300 to a subscriber, so if you haven't done it yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And guys, also definitely make sure to check out my brand new list, the top 5 best beginner DSLRs. I go into quite a lot of detail explaining which ones would be good for you and why. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description box below under this video. But anyway, let's take a look at the brand new Canon T6. So to start off with, let's take a look at the build quality and a couple of the features of this Canon T6. So the first thing you're going to notice is just how small this camera is for a DSLR. The T6 is actually one of the smallest DSLRs you can buy from Canon, and pretty much any company for that matter. But to me, that's actually not a bad thing. Being a very lightweight camera can sometimes mean you're a little bit more inclined to pick it up and take it out with you, rather than kind of being worried that it's going to be too heavy, especially for beginners. On top of the camera right here, we've got all the buttons you'd expect to see in a beginner DSLR, and also a mode dial which allows you to select the mode you want to be in. Now of course we've got all the basic beginner modes like sports and portraits, etc. But we've also got aperture, shutter and manual modes for when you want to get a little bit more serious. The buttons on the back are actually really quite nice. However, I would have liked to have seen the menu and the display button at the top here because I use them quite often. So overall, the camera's build is actually pretty good for what it is. I think it's important to remember that this is a camera for a beginner and not really a camera for a professional. So I think it's good to take that into consideration. Oh guys, if you want to see some sample images that I've taken with a Canon T6, I'll put a link in the description box below under this video and you can check them out in your own time. But anyway, let's continue with this review. So let's now turn the camera around and talk about the LCD screen on the back. So we've got a 3-inch screen on the back which has around about 920,000 dots. And after testing it out for a while, it was actually pretty good. Now even in bright daylight, which it's not right now, it's pretty gloomy outside, it was actually quite easy to see the LCD screen. It is, however, missing something that I really do like to see, and that's an articulating screen. So whereas on cameras like the T6i and the T6s, which are above this one, you can swivel your screen out and get a better composition, with the T6, you're kind of forced to take the photo even if you can't really see the screen. And that's a little bit of a pity for me, and it's something I would have liked to have seen. Now it's also missing a touch screen, which is also a bit of a pity because they're really good, especially for beginners. The screen itself is actually pretty nice, but I'd like to see those improvements made in the next camera. By the way guys, if you'd like me to do a head-to-head comparison between the Canon T6 and its bigger brother, the Canon T6i, let me know by leaving a thumbs up on this video. So let's quickly talk about the menus on the Canon T6. So if you've ever used a Canon camera before, you'll feel right at home with this menu system. It's incredibly easy to get around and change the settings that you need. Now a little tip is that if you actually change your dial to manual mode, you'll get a lot more settings that you can actually change, which can be really great. Again, it would have been nice to have had a touchscreen to make it quicker to change the settings on the fly. But this little D-pad on the right here isn't too bad, and it's pretty responsive. So overall, the menus are actually pretty good, but just remember to change it over to manual mode to really get all the settings. So one of the new inclusions on the T6 is Wi-Fi and NFC. So essentially what this allows you to do is connect your camera to your phone and do a number of things like, transfer your photos and also get a live view of what you're shooting. To me, this is the perfect camera to have this feature because, it's targeting a younger generation of users who love to share their photos on Instagram and Facebook. It's pretty intuitive to set up the Wi-Fi on this camera, but it wasn't as easy as setting it up on the Canon 80D, which I tested out a few weeks ago. So let's talk about the burst mode of the Canon T6. So essentially what this means is how fast the camera can take a photo in succession per second. The T6 isn't super quick, and it can only shoot at around about 3 shots per second. And it sounds a little bit like this. Now most of the time when you take a photo, you'll only be shooting 1 shot anyway, so it won't make a big difference. But if you want to take some photos of, say, a bird or at a sports game, this might not be the best camera for you. Now autofocus in stills mode is actually surprisingly good, and for most situations, it should be fast enough. The 18 to 55mm lens that comes with the camera though, it's not great though and is noisy in autofocus. But if you can get past the noise, which sounds a little bit like a bee, it can work pretty well in most well-lit situations. So let's talk about using the T6 for video. It's pretty basic, but it should work fine for day-to-day video. Unfortunately though, the autofocus for video on the T6 isn't very good. My tip would be to switch it over to manual focus on the lens right here and shoot in manual focus mode. Now one thing however that was pretty good to see is that we have full manual control over our video and audio settings. It is however missing a microphone jack on the side here, so if you do want to get some better quality audio, I'd probably be looking towards the Canon T6i or T6s. So let's talk about price and more importantly, value for money. Now the T6 comes in at $549, which is one of the cheapest DSLRs you can buy on the market today. You also get a lens with that, so all you really need to get up and running after is an SD card and you're good. To me, it's not a bad price, but there are definitely some very competitive options out there that I might look at as well. For example, if you pay just a few $100s more, you can get a Canon T6i, which is also a very good camera. I think I might do a comparison between these two cameras in the next few days, so hopefully that'll help you figure it out a little bit more. So overall, the Canon T6 isn't a bad little camera, and for beginners, it'll be a lot of fun to learn on. If you've never used a DSLR, this is probably one of the best options you can get, especially for just under $550. So that was my review of the Canon T6. Now, if you guys want to pick one up, you can actually check out the link in the description box below, and that'll take you to Amazon. And also, guys, make sure to check out my top 5 list of the best beginner DSLRs. I'll put a link in the description box as well. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time. Bye.